Hey guys, welcome back to Shop Life. So I've got this E39 in that has 411,000 miles. And it is all original engine, original transmission. Even the fuel sender is original. Almost all the fuel lines, all that stuff is original. Of course, it had quite a bit of maintenance. It is a 5-speed manual. It's had the clutch replaced twice. But I mean, this car, it runs pretty good still. The suspension has also been replaced a few times, I'm guessing. But besides that, I mean, most of this car is all original. And I mean, it surprisingly runs really well. So that just goes to show that these cars, a lot of people will rag on them for, you know, being unreliable and whatnot. But if you take care of them and stay on top of them, they'll run forever. Like, I mean, this one right here has 411,000 miles. But let me go and show you guys around the car. So here we have the engine bay. So the main reason this car was brought in was because it would not pass smog. Since when my customer took it to the smog station, he filled up his fuel tank all the way, and once he got there, the smog tech saw that there was some fuel leaking somewhere. But I just checked the whole fuel system, there's no leaks anywhere. Not sure exactly what happened. You can't even smell any fuel. Right now it has a full tank too. But I mean, there's no leaks anywhere like that. But while it was here, it did throw a check engine light for a cylinder 3 misfire. So I'm gonna take a look at that. I also looked at overall all the hoses, you know, all the suspension and all that, to see if there's anything else that should be replaced to make this thing last another 400,000 miles. But anyways, a few things that I noticed were the power steering lines. It's a very common issue. All of them are leaking. The one right here, the one going to the back of the pump, and then this one right here going to the cooler, right down there, and the one underneath it that's also at the cooler. So all those lines are leaking. They should be replaced. The Vanos oil feed line is also leaking. That should be replaced. But besides that, I mean, I took a look at the actual fuel pump. I took the back seat out and I checked all the fuel level sender seal, the hose that goes there. Same for the fuel pump. The fuel pump actually has been replaced before, but the fuel sender was all original. The sound deadening had never been removed either. But anyways, let's lift it up and let me show you underneath. So the power steering is actually leaking quite a bit. You can see a few drops. There's a drop right here and a drop right there. And the car's only been here for about 10 minutes on top of the lift, even a drop right there. So power steering is leaking quite a bit. The oil pan gasket has a minor leak as well, which is very common, especially for 411,000 miles. This tensioner has been replaced, same with the belts, all that's good. All the cooling system stuff is still pretty good as well. But you can see that leak from that power steering hose, especially the one that goes to the oil pump right here. That one's leaking pretty bad, and then those two cooler lines are leaking pretty bad. But anyway, suspension wise, I'm sure the control arms and all that stuff's been replaced before. Doesn't really seem to have too much play. I checked all that. Tie rods are starting to have cracks on their boots, so those will eventually need to be replaced. Oil pan gasket, like I said, is leaking a little bit. So is the rear main seal, but it could just be from the oil pan gasket where it meets the rear main seal. Besides that, transmission wise, there's a minor leak from the output shaft seal, which is common as well. The transmission mounts and all that's been replaced, same with the flex joint. I'm guessing that was done at the last clutch change. Besides that, exhaust wise, all that stuff is fine. Rear suspension is surprisingly well too. I think most of this is all original. But all that's good. So yeah, I mean, this car has been taken care of very well, which is why it has lasted as long as it has. And it doesn't seem to be showing any signs of it breaking down anytime soon. And I'm pretty sure it's still gonna last quite a long time, especially the way that the owner is trying to be preventative, trying to take care of any issues before they arise. Obviously the power steering leak, that is gonna be replaced soon. But that is also not major. It's just 3 hoses, and they're not even the most expensive ones. The expensive one is this pressure hose, which I would recommend replacing as well, since I don't know if it has been replaced before. And while we're doing all the power steering stuff, might as well take that off, put another one on, since the system's already going to be opened up. But yeah, as far as the cooling system goes, like I said, the radiator's fine. It's got a little bend here, but nothing major. I'm sure the radiator and all that has been replaced before. But anyways, that's how it looks underneath a 411,000 mile chassis, engine, transmission. Pretty much everything is all original. Now let's take a look at inside and let me go over a few of the most common issues with the E39s. This right here, like I said, is a 528i, and just for those that don't believe the mileage is actually 411, there it is, 411,000 miles. And the owner actually told me that that might not be exactly the right mileage, because he did have one of his wheel speed sensors down for a little bit. So should be actually a couple thousand miles more than what it really is. But anyways, you can see that all the pixels are working. So either this gauge cluster has been rebuilt or it's just stayed working from factory, which is crazy because that's one of the most common issues, is these pixels will start going out throughout the whole gauge cluster. Same with the radio, all that's fine, and even the HVAC module. But yeah, so the only light that is on is the airbag light, which is most likely for a seat sensor. That's common as well, even on the E46. The E39 and E46, they share mostly the same engines, transmissions. Most of the modules are the same, except for the V8 E39s, because the E46 didn't get the V8s. So the 540 and all those are going to be a little bit different. Same with the M5, that engine's completely different. But besides that, most of the issues are the same, like the fuel pumps go out, valve cover gaskets, oil filter housing gasket, since the engine is practically the same with the transmission. So if you do have an E39 and you're trying to see what all the common issues are, make sure you go check out my E46 common problems video that goes over most of those issues. But anyways, I'm just gonna get to the bottom of the cylinder 3 misfire, see if it's a coil or a plug, what's going on. I'm about to pull off the vanity covers, pull off the coil, and just check it from there. And then I'll get back to you guys. We'll pull this car out and get to work on the rest of the cars for the day. Alright, so I changed the coil out, I topped up all the fluids. Since it is leaking power steering fluid, I went and filled that up a little bit more than what it needs. And I also topped up the oil. It wasn't that low, but I went ahead and topped it up just in case if he still has a little while before his oil change. But all that stuff is good to go now. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the car out, and I'll just wait on his call, and we'll just go from there. Alright, so I brought the E39 back on the lift because the customer agreed to do the repairs. And we're just going to be doing the power steering lines on it. We're going to be doing the one from the cooler to the rack, from the cooler to the reservoir, as well as from the reservoir to the power steering pump. I also already went ahead and changed the windshield washer pump since it wasn't spraying any fluid out. And yeah, so all that's good to go. But I just changed out these power steering lines, drain all the fluid, put all new fresh fluid in there, and then we should be good to go. Alright, just finished up the E39, took it for a test drive. So I ended up changing those power steering hoses, both from the reservoir, replaced all the O-rings, all the crush washers, all that, drained all the fluid out, refilled it with all fresh fluid, all that's good to go. Alright, so that's it for the day. I did end up working on other cars, but I didn't remember to film, and I was just busy with that. But I actually did love seeing one of those higher mileage BMWs, because BMWs have that reputation where everybody's always like, they don't last a long time, they're unreliable and all that. But like I said at the beginning, if you take care of them, they last a really long time. And this is actually not even the highest mileage one I've seen. I've seen another E39, a newer one, 525i, with almost 520,000 miles. And that one was an automatic. And I think they were on a different torque converter, but the transmission, the engine, all that was factory. These cars really do go forever. And that's with any car, it's not just BMWs. As long as you are willing to, look after them, stay on top of maintenance, not waiting until everything breaks to fix it, you will be fine. So, if you guys have seen any higher mileage cars, feel free to leave a comment down below, and even comment down what your car is at right now. My car, before I did the S54 swap, my first car, which is the 01 330i, was I think at like 215 or 216,000 miles, I don't really remember, before I pulled, all the original drivetrain out. And that was also automatic, and I don't even know if someone had changed the transmission fluid before I had got it or anything like that. And yeah, so that one was good. Then we actually even bought Selena's car. We bought that right before we moved out here with 205,000 miles. And all we did on there was just like a valve cover gasket, spark plugs, oil change. And then we drove it all the way to California, drove it back to North Carolina again, drove it back here. So we put on up to like 225,000 miles before she started pulling everything out for the LS swap. So yeah, we've had quite a few higher mileage cars. We really love them, we don't mind. We don't really mind them because if something were to break, we can usually take care of it. But, like I said, as long as you're staying on top of it, it's gonna last a long time. So don't get scared away by high mileage cars when you're looking at it, especially if they have some sort of maintenance history and the car is really clean. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll try to film more. I know I'm getting, really bad at it lately, especially because customer cars are just piling up nonstop. So I'm trying, just work through it, get everything done. We're gonna try to keep filming and try to make more content for you guys. So once again, make sure you go check out the main channel, go check out Selena's channel. She's making quite a bit of progress on her LS swap. We've been working very, very late nights, or you can even say early mornings at that point. But we're trying to get that done as soon as we can, so that's back on the road as well.